We don't want to go to the dump. We don't want to take things to the trash. So we avoid buying things that we think are going to be useless or that we're going to have to take to the dump in 2 to 3 years.
Welcome to the Fiscal Foxhole, the podcast proving you don't need a degree in finance, just some grit, a game plan, and maybe a sense of humor. Your hosts are retired Army veteran Rob Moore and retired Marine veteran Omen Quelvog. Together, they'll help you dodge financial landmines, call in the air support on your savings, and laugh at the ridiculous money mistakes we've all made. If you can survive mandatory fund days, you can survive personal finance. Welcome to the Foxhole.
It's Wednesday once again, so welcome back to the Fiscal Foxhole. I'm your host for today, Rob Moore. And once again, not only is it Wednesday, but I'm sitting here lonesome in the foxhole, looking at a screen virtually at my partner, Omen Quelvog, joining me once again from his parents' foxhole in California.
You make that sound so terrible. I mean, I don't mind being here. I do like being back in Virginia, but it's close. I'm almost ready to fill in the foxhole. I've got my Alice pack all packed up, and I will be traveling here shortly back to filling in the foxhole here and traveling back to Virginia. Good to be here though with you, Rob.
Not to tease the subject of what we're about to talk about, but is your pack full of old teddy bears from your youth and trophies from when you played t-ball and Foreman grill and
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We went the opposite direction. So.
Oh, really?
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
opposite. Wait, you're giving
Opposite
them
is
stuff,
like,
or you're throwing it away?
I'm just like, yeah, it's going away. It's going away.
Wow. Okay. Well, I want to hear more about that because that's going to tie in perfectly what we're going to talk about later. I did want to mention before we jumped into that, I am wearing a product of your lovely bride over at the Scooter and Bear company. Scooter and the Bear. I'm going to say that right. The t-shirt I'm wearing, usually I like to wear a nice collared shirt, but yeah, she hooked me up with some nice Everman Wealth and Prosperity t-shirts and stuff like that. So I've been wearing them all week, getting compliments from folks. She did an awesome job. So wanted to take a minute to pimp her company, Scooter and the Bear, and the website where it's scooterandthebear.com. Right? All spelled out, all one word, Scooter and the Bear, correct?
Yep, Scooter and the Bear, and she's over on Etsy too. I'd say your shirt looks great. I know she's done some for me as well. And if you're jealous listening to this right now, you can anticipate that if you're chiming in on our contest here at the end of the year with a quiz, you're going to get a shirt from her as well.
Yep, that and I realized I mentioned it. I didn't even think about it, but I'm also drinking out of the mug she made us for the Fiscal Foxhole.
Fully outfitted. That's what it is.
Yeah. Thanks to Megan. Anyway, but as you wrap up your vacation, I'm assuming you're still the Tour de France is over, right? So how have you been filling your hour, or is it over? I don't even know.
That's not over. This thing is 21 stages, bro. The World Cup's over. That's
World
right.
Cup's over. That's right. I'm sorry.
And
yeah, okay.
And, man, that was
still going on.
Yeah. So the World Cup. Let's stop on the World Cup for just a second. That was, I don't know. It was long, and it didn't it was weird because Spain had so much control over the whole game, and we ended up with just a pretty low score there. So that was weird. But yeah, Tour de France is still going on. We're on an off day at the moment as we record this. They get 2 breaks. And yeah, Jonas Vingegaard, he is out of the race. So he was number 2 in the race, and he broke his collarbone in a crash yesterday. So
I'm glad
good stuff.
At least I'll have your full attention this time. You won't be
watching
the Tour de France.
It is not being watched on here on my side screen. I do have to say one thing in my time here. My brother-in-law is apparently a diehard disc golf fan. I have never played disc golf in my life. So he said, well, let's go. So Friday afternoon, went out, played my first full round of disc golf. I have to tell you, Rob, I texted Megan right after. I said, I think this is an activity that both you and I can get into. And I've been looking for those activities. Megan and I started doing geocaching. I don't know if you're familiar with geocaching, but we started doing that.
I've never done it. Yeah.
They're activity-ish, like get your heart rate up and stuff like that, but also fun, go find treasure and things like that. But disc golf, man, 18 holes, it's a workout.
Well, I laughed because you're like, hey, this is for us. I threw a Frisbee a few times and I thought Rob and I can handle this. This is perfect. I think
no, not for you and I.
Oh, gotcha.
For Megan and Megan and I.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The other we, the more
The
important
other
we.
married couple, yes.
Yeah. but I couldn't help but laugh. I'm like, I could probably still break a collarbone doing disc golf. I'm pretty sure.
You probably could.
Yeah. Well, moving along from these activities at our advanced ages, it's time to go ahead and just jump in. Let's tease what we're going to talk about today in today's situation.
Hard work, work.
Situation.
Hard work, work.
Omen, today, I'm excited we're talking about PCSing. I love that we talk about a lot of items, financially speaking, that affect everybody. And then we try to find a way that's, the wrinkles in those things that apply directly to military. But today is one of those episodes we get to talk about that uniquely applies to the military. And that's the PCS move and everything that comes along with it. I know it's pretty cut and dry as far as the activity of a PCS move. And you might be wondering, well, financially speaking, beyond doing a Diddy move versus having the government do it for you, what is there financially to talk about? It turns out there's a lot, because when we talk about finances, it's not just about the money coming in, money coming out. Oftentimes, it also has to do with how you handle the resources you currently own, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we are in the midst of PCS season as we release this episode. If you're driving up and down 95 or Interstate 5 in California here, you're going to see a bunch of U-Haul trucks with cars on the back. And you know that some poor military family somewhere is doing a PCS. And so the disruption that comes with PCS is one thing. But there are silver linings that actually come with PCSs that you might not realize now, especially if you're doing a personally procured move, the Diddy move, what Diddy moves used to be called. But when you do those kinds of moves, you have to be very careful about what you take and what you don't take. And that's the silver lining, I think, that we're going to get into today. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I'm glad we're framing it more as an opportunity, which I know people are going to roll their eyes at. But let's be honest, it is a pain to do it, right? It's not a benefit unless you look at the different living in different places as a benefit. But the physical task of actually moving your stuff, I mean, I don't know anybody that's done a PCS that was like, yeah, I can't wait. But there are some benefits to it. I do have to mention one thing ahead before we even get in here and kind of reveal my military history is, Omen, I know you know this, I've never PCS'd. I spent 22 plus almost 23 years in the military. I never PCS'd. I was permanent post my entire career. I was very spoiled. So I don't have any personal experience doing this. So it's good I'm the host. I get to kind of maybe paint the framework and you get to color in the lines when it comes to actual experiences with PCS.
Rob, you blew my mind the first time you told me that. I'm pretty sure some people just drove off the road.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, 23 years in the Army and you never moved?
Yeah, pretty spoiled. It was really nice. I won't lie. We ended up in a really nice area, good schools. So all the reasons why people look forward to PCSing, we had all of the good stuff here. So, yeah, I know it makes a lot of military folks jealous, but it was good for us. So while our listeners deal with the rage from that disclosure, let's go ahead and we'll move into background. This week's background is once again our version of the This Date in Military History, which brings us back to 1953, specifically July 27th. At 1000 on that day, inside a specially built wooden pavilion in the village of Panmunjom. Thank you. Is that correct? Panmunjom? Am I saying that correctly? All right, great. Close enough. U.S. Army Lieutenant General William K. Harrison Jr. and North Korean General Nam II sat down at opposite tables and signed the Korean Armistice Agreement. 18 official copies, printed in English, Korean, Chinese. Neither general spoke or acknowledged each other. It was the end of the longest negotiated armistice in military history. 158 meetings stretched across 2 years and 17 days of talks that began not too long after fighting erupted along the 38th parallel in June 1950. So, recap of the Korean War here. Cost millions of lives, American, Korean, and Chinese. Armistice didn't end it so much as it froze it in place, right? Just stopped it, paused it. At 2200 on that same night, the ceasefire went into effect, and the front line at that moment became what is known as the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth. Omen, no peace treaty ever followed. So technically, the Korean War has never officially ended. It just paused for going on 73 years now. So July 27th is recognized in the United States as the National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. As a few years ago, there were still over 1.5 million Korean War veterans living in the U.S. and Puerto Rico, most of them now in their mid-80s. It's a generation that's thinning out fast, which makes the day less about politics, about the armistice and the story we just talked about, and more always about the people who lived through it. So these guys came home to a country that basically barely acknowledged them or the war that they fought in, and it's been nicknamed the Forgotten War. So this is kind of a bittersweet date in military history, but I guess relevant or worthwhile as such that the day that this complicated war came to an end.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that it's not like the war didn't actually end. Like it really is just frozen in time, and that DMZ is a very important line along the 38th parallel. Rob, just a quick story on that one. Back in 2005, I had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time in South Korea, and me and one other guy were traveling from one Marine camp to another Marine camp. In a Ford F-350, by the way, Ford F-350 crew cab long bed in South Korean streets. Not good. Not good at all. Very, very tricky to maneuver. But so 2005, this is before you could just load up a map on your phone and go wherever you needed to go. So we're back with the paper maps and everything. And we were just driving along, and apparently we missed our off-ramp. And next thing you know, we're seeing signs for the DMZ.
Shut up.
5 kilometers away, 3 kilometers. We're like, oh my God, we gotta turn around. We gotta turn around. So yeah, not a great place to get lost. But yeah, that's a story I won't forget.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess, yeah, technically it was paused. You almost started it back up by yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
just rammed the DMZ with a Ford F-350 crew cab.
Man, that's really wild. Well, I'm glad you're still with us here and not doing hard labor in North Korea. But moving on from that, it is time for this week's Intel Update.
Intel Update.
This week's Intel Update, aka our news segment, comes to us courtesy of Morningstar from Denise Appleby. It was published in June of 2026 and is titled IRA Transfers versus Rollovers, the Rules That Can Cost You. Before I dive into the information here, I think the headline reveals a lot, and a lot of people need to understand that there's a difference between transfer and rollover. It's almost like we use these terms interchangeably. I want to just highlight the fact that in this article and discussion, we're going to use those terms intentionally. So please be tracking that as we go. Reading now from the article, investors move their IRAs for many reasons. They might want to change financial institutions, work with a new advisor, or consolidate multiple IRAs. Whatever the reason, care must be taken when deciding how to move the IRA to preserve the tax-deferred status. Let's first talk about a few ways that this works. Right. Reading again from the article, she breaks it down into a few different things. How each one moves, referring to those accounts. A transfer goes directly custodian to custodian. The money never touches the account holder's hands. A rollover means that the owner receives the funds or a check before depositing them.
This is something where we really want to be intentional about the words we use. Like Rob, I'm sure we've talked about this on the show earlier. Words mean things, particularly in our profession. And so what we're talking, clearly you've already said transfers and rollovers, but also this is IRA to IRA. There are other words when it comes to 401ks or 403bs or 457. So this also applies only to IRAs to IRAs.
Next thing, the deadline that trips people up. Rollovers carry a strict 60-day window to redeposit the funds. Transfers have no such deadline since the money never left IRA custody. What that means is on that direct transfer, let me just use it more direct. Instead of direct, let me just say transfer. On the transfer between custodian, like you want to go, not a recommendation, but let's say, Vanguard to Schwab, right? If you want to roll or transfer between the two, I know they can do a direct transfer because we've done them, right? That would never come to you. You would never receive the funds or have access to them. So there's really nothing to worry about. That's the most ideal one. That's what we shoot for, what we really want to do, right?
Yeah, and it's easy, right? Like that custodian initiates the transfer on your behalf and pulls the money over for you. And if there's any problems, like this is where things can go a little bit sideways. Perhaps you hold something in your old custodian that is something, or maybe you hold something in your old custodian that's proprietary to them, meaning your new custodian cannot hold that particular thing. Then your new custodian's simply going to tell you, like, we're having some problems transferring this over. So you need to do something about it. You need to liquidate it. You need to do something about it. But they're going to work with you to get that transfer over. So like I said, ideally, this is the best way to go. And it only takes a number of days, really. They'll tell you it takes a couple of weeks to make this happen. But in reality, like, we've only seen it take a few days to work.
I think we've implied some warning here. So let's pause for a second from the article, what's feeding us, and let's talk about what that warning is. And recap real quick, the direct is great. The direct from custodian, you don't have to worry about anything. It's fantastic. I mean, track it and make sure that it's there and it lands correctly. But there's another way that sometimes these rollovers happen, and more specifically, maybe talking about even 401ks and 403bs, because those have to happen a little bit differently. Let me just say this. If you ever receive a check from an IRA, 401k, 403b, TSP, or anything like that with your name written on it, as in it's made out to you, it's not a problem yet, but it could be a problem. Okay, it's called an indirect rollover, where you're actually receiving the cash. You have a window where you have to get that money sent over to the new custodian, wherever it needs to be, fairly quickly. It's within 60 days. You got to get it in there.
It is 60 days from the day that you receive that check. And if you don't get it into that new custodian, Rob, like, you're asking for trouble, because it is now considered a distribution of those funds. And once you have, I mean, depending on the amount, I mean, that's a lot of money you're about to be taxed on, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't often see this. In fact, I do a lot of due diligence when I'm coaching clients on if they are trying to access their rollover or get it done themselves. You know, I'm talking to them like, look, if they offer you a check made out to you, do not take a check. Tell them you want a direct rollover, direct transfer, and see what they can do. I'll talk about this later, but every transfer I've done, every rollover has looked a little bit different. It's wild. There's so many ways this happens, but we're trying to talk about the most important and common ones. So I'm going to keep moving here. There is a once-a-year rule. This is interesting. IRA to IRA rollovers are capped at 1 per 12-month period, aggregate across all of your IRAs. Transfers have no limit. You can do as many of those as you want. So that's a kind of an interesting caveat. Jumping back between the differences there between rollovers is the rollovers get reported to IRS via 1099-R and 5498 forms. Transfers aren't reported at all. That doesn't mean it's taxable necessarily or you owe taxes or penalties. It just means it's recorded to the IRS. Reported to IRS, recorded on your tax return. Okay, all that said, I can't wait to talk about this part. She actually writes us here, and she says that there's one way that like an IRA rollover might make sense, i.e. the money comes to you and you get it to the new IRA custodian within 60 days. And she says that one legitimate use is if you need short-term access to cash before putting it back. What are your thoughts?
I paused on this one, kind of, set my chin in my hands and pondered over this a little bit. I cannot think of a legitimate reason of short-term cash usage to play with that 60-day window. It just does not compute. I could not imagine how dangerous this is for you to go buy a bass boat for 30 days, sell it, try to get that money back, and then try to get the money back into your IRA. Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
I mean, you're talking about a short-term cash need that you expect to get resolved within 60 days. So you're going to use this tool to fill that, that intermediate void. I mean, have you considered maybe robbing a bank instead? I mean, that's
probably a better idea.
It would be more financially secure. Yeah. I mean, you would have like stability in housing for the rest of your life. So actually that might work out best for you.
And I'm sure you could probably put the money back in the bank faster.
Right. You can give, you have it.
Just give it back. Just give it back.
I mean, there's ways. I've done this with a TSP loan. I filled a short-term cash flow need when we moved. Talking like a couple of weeks, did a TSP loan. And then as we sold our own home and our old house and, cash became available again, put it back right away. That's a better way. Even short-term credit card use, I would say, is a better use than this. I mean, there's a dozen ways I think you can access short-term cash that's better than playing around, trying to thread the needle of an IRA rollover. All right. Our ramblings aside, I think the key takeaway here is just do a direct transfer if you can. Stick with the direct transfer. It's the best way to go. Lowest risk of issues. There's no lost check in the mail, fewer restrictions, fewer rules. And then it also avoids that temptation of, if the money does hit your account, doing your due diligence and getting it out to the new custodians.
So I do think the article itself was talking about transfers versus rollovers. And really this is whether or not you see the money come to your house or not. I think that one thing that the article actually missed is the reason why you would do this in the first place. Because ultimately you can have a number of IRAs. So why would you actually move money from one IRA to another IRA? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Well, we teased it a little bit. The ability, like my clients do it for direct management. So, because I do asset management and investment management for them. So that's a reason. Collating all of your assets together in one spot is really nice. If you've accumulated different accounts across custodians as you've gone throughout your life, perhaps it gives you a better, clearer picture of where you are financially if you have all of the IRAs together in one account.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, did you have thoughts too, or about that?
I mean, that second one was really my thought of, if you have multiple IRAs out there, you've just collected them up over the time. And, particularly when it comes to now starting to distribute from those IRAs, if you're starting to hit RMD age with traditional IRAs out there, it can get a little bit complicated when it comes to what you distribute from your IRAs versus what you distribute from your 401k or your TSP. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to distribute your money if it's all from one IRA. If you aggregate that into one IRA and distribute your money from that, it just makes the math a little bit easier.
And if you listen to the Fiscal Foxhole, the IRS treats all your IRAs as one IRA anyway. It's not it's not like you're solving any issue. They're all viewed as one, so you might as well get into one for simplicity and clarity. I do want one parting note here. I don't know how many rollovers and transfers you've done with your clients. There's very few that look exactly the same. It varies so much from custodian to custodian, type account to type account. I had one client that, I had to borderline threaten legal action because they were the actual plan admin for the old 401k were dragging their feet for so long that it would almost warranted, like, they wouldn't even giving her access to the account. It was dealing with stuff like that. I have one recent client had 3 old 401ks, and all 3 did the rollover differently. One of them was a simple direct transfer, very easy, that I was able to do with her on the line. The other one she did herself on the website. She was able to put the information in. And another one was the rollover where they sent her the check made out to her, or not made out to her, made out to the new custodian. So it was like these old 401ks, they all handle it very differently. So it's information you should just be aware of. And if you're not sure, obviously, Google and ChatGPT is probably your friend. You're trying to do this yourself later down the road. But all of that confusing nonsense behind us, it's time to jump into the main part of our episode, which we have now named the execution.
Execution.
Once again, returning back to the tease earlier, we're talking about PCSing today. We're talking about PCSing as an opportunity. And as you roll your eyes when you hear us say that, the PCSing is an opportunity, I think you'll be surprised that there's a lot of really good stuff that we can do, or you can do, when you face a PCS and frame it like, hey, I have to do it anyway. I might as well make some benefit from it. And also should also add that if you are frustrated with PCSs, just think about your situation too, in regards maybe, or compared to people that you've seen or that have maybe lived in the same house for 40 or 50 years. Omen, do you have any recent reflections on that point?
As I sit here And on social media, you might be looking them out around my room. You're like, wow, where's Omen sitting right now? It's a pretty full foxhole. And, I grew up in a home where my parents didn't leave for, I think, 38 years or something like that. And you told me a story earlier before we started recording today, but, they still had my Army guys. I had little Army toys, and they still had those Army toys that they were basically trying to give me back as an adult, and said, this is what you played with when you were a kid. You want to play with them now? Like, no, I don't want to play with those now.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of that because there's no forcing function to get rid of things unless you're intentional about it. And so if you've sat in the same home for decades, literally decades, the accumulation of stuff is, I think it's normal. Like, I don't want to villainize my parents at all, because I think that that is absolutely normal, because there's no real driving action to get rid of things. But a PCS is one of those silver linings, I think.
In our efforts to paint the PCS as a beneficial thing, it's an opportunity. We did break this down in one of our most effective ways. I think we framed these discussions, and that's in different points. We've got 5 points to hit as we tackle this issue. So just diving right in, point number 1, every PCS is a decluttering checkpoint. Just reading some of the points within this, it's a forced eyes on every room in your home. You got to go through all your stuff because you got to put it all in a box. If you're packing, especially if you're packing up yourself, it's an opportunity to see everything you have. I know your kids are getting older, right? Do the clothes still fit? Are the toys still appropriate? Or are you just picking up a box that you never opened from your last move that was 2 or 3 years ago? If you didn't miss in the last 2 to 3 years, I mean,
that's a
good
true
sign.
thing. That is a true thing. So, Rob, I'll tell you, like, there were boxes that we quite literally, they just slapped another moving sticker on, but the tape and everything was still intact from the last move. Mm-hmm. And we had several boxes just like that. And that was our version of storage, but we never opened up the box to actually see what was inside. And clearly we didn't miss it. No. But I will tell you the one line that has been passed down from generation to generation that that'll be the most triggering line, and one of the ones that everybody listening to this show will probably agree with. And that is, but I could use it someday.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of, I might have gone through, I had a bin full of old audio cables, like the old obsolete audio cables that I will never use again. It's like, yeah, I mean, they work perfectly fine. They're great, but yeah, I'll never use them again because they're obsolete. But that goes for almost anything that you might store away in a box that you think in the future might hold some value. That we're talking about stuff that you put away. Now, let's talk about things that you place, including furniture, right? Stuff you hang on the wall. All right. You actually literally have to take these things and put your hands on it and move them maybe into a box or something into a packing state to move to the next house. That's a perfect opportunity to look at this thing and say, are we still using this? Or, is this appropriate for where we're going? Or has this run its course and maybe we need to replace this rather than, carry it across the country or across an ocean?
Yeah, and I think it matters too if you're doing a personally procured move versus a government move. The personally procured move, you're packing up your own truck, basically your own shipping container, whatever it is, you're packing that thing up. You're paying for that. So whether you get a 15-foot truck or a 20-foot truck, that is based on the amount of stuff that you have. Rob, just another little story, and this goes back to the fact that when you live in one place for decades at a time. So my wife and I, when we moved, even at the peak of kids' toys and clothes and stuff, the things that we had, we never had more than a 20-foot truck, which is the biggest truck that you can get before you have to basically get a CDL license. And so when my parents moved, we'd talked my parents into downsizing their home. Didn't need such a big home. Didn't have us 4 kids in it anymore. We finally talked them into moving into a smaller home. Guess how many trucks, 20-foot trucks it took?
Wait, for just your parents' stuff?
Just my parents.
I would hope 1.
3. And that was after an estate sale.
Man, that's a lot of Army toys.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it affects you when you have a lot of things, especially if you don't use them. But it also affects you on the government move side of things too, because you do have a weight allowance based on your rank that you are limited to, and anything that your household weighs over your allowance, that's on you. You're going to pay out of pocket for that.
So while we talk about the amassing of things that start to create a giant kind of virtual pile in your life, the perfect transition to the storage idea. A lot of people, when they do the PCS and you end up in a space that's larger or smaller than previous, or maybe smaller than the one, maybe the permanent home you're going to go to next on your final PCS move. So storage containers and storage facilities become kind of an opportunity to hold on to this stuff, maybe put off some of the decluttering you should be doing. But, there's certain valid reasons to use it. But assess why you have it, okay? Because I do have some personal experience with this. We lived in a 1,200 square foot townhome with 2 adults and 3 teenagers. It was wild. But we did have a storage unit for stuff because it did feel like we needed more room, and it was a good opportunity. When we moved in the home we have now, I remember my wife said, well, maybe we'll hold on to the storage unit if we need it. I'm like, no, like this home is big enough, more than big enough to handle anything we should have. So that became the defining line of like, if it can't fit, then we don't need it, or we need to declutter however much we need to in order to make sure we can fit in this house. So just understand the reasoning why you have a storage unit, not because you just haven't gone through your stuff or haven't been discerning or disciplined about what you want. Make sure that there's a good reason for it. This episode is brought to you by the Military Financial Advisors Association.
MFAA is a global network of independent, fee-only fiduciary financial advisors who specialize in serving military families.
And we're not just highlighting it. Omen and I are members ourselves, so we know firsthand what they stand for.
That's right. Every member of MFAA is either active duty, a veteran, or a military spouse, so they truly understand the unique financial challenges that come with military life.
Plus, every advisor must hold or be actively pursuing the CFP designation, which is the gold standard in financial planning.
So let's put that together. When you choose an advisor with MFAA, you are getting a professional who won't sell you a product, who knows the military life, and will plan using your hard-earned military benefits.
Whether you're navigating a step out of the military after 4 years, a military retirement, or a transition into a work-optional lifestyle, MFAA advisors speak your language.
Visit militaryfinancialadvisors.org to find an advisor who fits your mission.
MFAA, real advice, real experience.
This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. All investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Information and opinions provided within the fiscal foxhole do not necessarily reflect official positions or opinions of the Military Financial Advisors Association or its members. Consult a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions.
Omen, we're going to bring up more of this again. We're going to mention this again, but I think it's important to know before I go on to point 2 that PCSs are great because they happen every 3 to 4 years. A lot of times you end up in the same spot, especially here in DC, where you might live in the same house for 3 different assignments. So I think that it's a good idea maybe just to go through this practice. Maybe you don't have to pack everything up to do it, but maybe a virtual kind of packing, like looking at everything you would pack to the next place and see if it still serves your needs. All right, moving on straight to point number 2. I think you're going to have some insight on this. This one is the kids don't want your shit. We could have put this at number 1.
Probably could put this at number 1. This is ultimately the driver behind this entire podcast episode.
Yeah. Look, I'm in my 40s for now, but not for long. And we're retired. And we're talking about PCSing. So like, where does this fit in this whole idea that your kids taking your stuff or saving stuff or earmarking things kind of emotionally or however you want to put it, account for your things as in your kids might want it in the future?
Yeah, Rob, the reason I love this platform so much is because it gives us an opportunity to talk about the things that are actually going on in our lives that have an effect. When I was 20 years old, my mom and dad may have tried to give me Army guys to back, right? Like, mm-hmm. you played with these when you're a kid, you want to play with them now? Like, no, I don't want to play with them now. There are some sentimental things now that I'm realizing that were held on to for me that they don't hold that same value. Like they're sentimental to my parents. I have things, Megan and I have things that are sentimental to us they have value to us that my boys are going to turn around and be like, why'd you hold on to that?
Right.
So that's kind of the realization here of if you're going to hold on to things, don't put your values on those. Don't take your values and put them on your kids. Like, your kids are not going to hold the same values. It's the same thing I tell my parents is most of the things that I value are up in my head. It's the memory associated with the thing that you have that is most important to me. It's not the thing itself.
Right. It's what it symbolizes. Right.
That's
or the
right.
thing, what the thing symbolizes. And that's to say that the emotional connection to these things is unique to the person that holds it. So I do want to add a little perspective here, because I've dealt with this as you have with my parents going through it. I've seen kind of what they've gone through. Just be sensitive to your folks. Right. Yep. And there's a way to turn this, I think, around into how you should see it with your kids. But we're leading with this with our parents. Just be sensitive to your folks, because like you, I think I was like 30 years old, and my parents came to visit, and they brought my old teddy bear from when I was a baby and a kid. Okay. Yeah. And, yeah, it was part of a box full of other stuff, but I pulled it out. I recognized it. I was like, oh, wow, look at that. Like, I haven't seen that in forever. And it's my teddy bear. And I looked at it for a moment and, had a moment of enjoying it. But then I set it aside, and it destroyed my mother. Like, I don't know what she expected. Well, at the time, I didn't know what she expected, but I just treated it like, okay, I don't need this anymore. Right. But it broke her heart that I was considering not keeping it. So I realized at that point, yeah, it was kind of serving her attachment to it that I hold on to it. So which I was glad to do. So it's just a teddy bear, and it's fine. There's also a time when, that's when she was like, she really wanted to give me something and share in that moment. Well, there's other worries that they have as they get older, which is their accumulation of stuff that eventually, as in their eyes, is becoming a burden to me and my sister, which I've taken some more definitive actions to help assuage them of that feeling. More on that later. But there's a lot of feelings involved when it comes to your stuff, or i.e. now we're looking at the framework of our parents, their stuff, as they see it becoming ours. The same thing applies to you, right? How do you see this? Is it something that you do intend as a legacy gift to your children, but also be honest about the fact of how, they might want it or not. So if you're going to hold on to this thing for the next 40 years for them to inherit it, is it worth really holding on to? Are they going to value it like you do?
Biggest thing there is communication, right? Don't assume, and this goes for parents, their kids, and then your kids, right? As we kind of pass these things down, is communicating. And that's what I can see you've already done with your parents, with your mom, is to say, start that communication of what really is important to you. Why are you holding on to this thing? If it's for you to get some enjoyment out of it, great, do that. But just, know that maybe that is not something that you value, perhaps, or like you'll take care of it, or maybe that is the thing that you'll pass down from generation to generation. Just communicating your way through that.
Right now, it actually expresses more from them as a burden that they're trying to either get rid of it because they don't want it to be a burden for us. So they're coming at it from that side, which actually ironically brings us to point number 3. Point number 3 is a tactic that you could possibly use to start to declutter. Returning back to us and their PCSing, right? What is a tactic that maybe you could utilize in order to achieve some sort of clarity, or maybe more of a cleaner life as far as the items that you own? And that's Swedish death cleaning. Great name.
This is awesome.
All right, you going to go ahead and say the Swedish term? Go for it. You wrote it.
No, I put the pronunciation in there just for you, Rob.
The pronunciation is Derstedning. Derstedning.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, perfect. DOSTA, and it's got other accents on there. DNING. Yeah, so go ahead and Google that. Have fun. Tell Google we sent you. A Swedish decluttering practice of getting rid of things before you die so your family doesn't have to. This is not about like being, too morbid or anything like that. It's just about maybe finding a purpose in doing this. Okay. So to turn my parents' experience around, as far as they kind of dread the fact that they're going to leave all this crap for us, this actually kind of turns it into a purpose, as so long as it brings you joy as you start to clean out your life.
I love this. I think that a lot of the older generation, right? They, depending on where they came from and what they had or did not have growing up, it's difficult to get rid of things, right? There's not a lot of conversations and communication around this, but giving somebody, and frankly, where I got the idea for this was from a few book recommendations, and we'll get into that here in just a second. But this Swedish death cleaning book or series of books, it gives permission that it's okay that your kids actually don't want your things, to open up those channels of communication where you could talk through, do you want this? Do you not want that? And if they don't, get rid of it, sell it, garage sale it, whatever, just so that it's not a burden for your kids.
The books you mentioned, just jumping right in here. First one by Messie Kondo, right? MESSIE CONDO. Title of the book is No One Wants Your The Art of Decluttering Before You Die. And the next one is from Margareta Magnusson, titled The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, How to Free Yourself and Your Family from a Lifetime of Clutter, or subtitled The Swedish Art of Living and Dying series, or I guess it's within that series. But yeah, a couple resources there for you. So real quick, like we're talking about older folks here, but I see this as more of a chore that might be a lot easier the earlier you do it. Now let's bring the PCS back in. You have this opportunity to kind of start to kind of cull your stuff. You don't have to wait till you're retired and looking for something to do and worried about how it's going to appear on your children's doorsteps. You have these PCSs where you have the opportunity to start to do that in the meantime.
Yes, this is like anything in life, that if you put your head in the sand and you let it pile up, it's going to pile up. And the more it piles up, the less motivated you're going to be, the more intimidated you're going to be, the more anxious you're going to be, the more stressed out you're going to be, and you'll never get it started. It'll just continue to pile and pile and pile. This is something that you have to do over and over and over again. Amazon continues to come to your door. Do the same boxes that come in go out?
Right. They close in, close out of. I mean, the your closet's a perfect example. Close in. Yep. Now, if I never buy clothes, I've started to buy a few, for professional reasons, but I go in and like, okay, 3 shirts go in, 3 shirts are going out at least. So I've been trying to do that as I go. Fortunately, with my pants, I'm starting to outgrow, quote unquote, a few of them. Pretty easy to get rid of them. When you
do you try to do you keep a pair or two? Like, these are my future pants, like my goal pants?
No, I put a bullet in that idea long ago. That's I turn 50 next year. More on that later. That kind of brings us to our next point. Point number 4, what to do with your stuff. So you've decided to do this PCS cleaning, or maybe you're early retired and you're kind of earlier on before you hit that later mark. And you're like, okay, well, what to do with the stuff as you've identified it that you don't need it anymore? Okay, stick with the theme. Start with it. Do the kids want it? Do you have adult kids, and do they want it now? Maybe they want it now and you can provide some value and you're ready to give it to them and they might enjoy it. You could watch them enjoy it in the meantime.
This is opening up those conversations about what your kids want to be passed down to them. And you might still be getting enjoyment out of it. My dad he loves woodworking. So his garage is full of woodworking tools. He still gets enjoyment out of that now. So those aren't things that he's ready to pass down quite yet. He's going to hold on to that with the expectation that something happened to them when he is no longer able to do something with them. Like, ultimately, it is kind of this agreement of, what do you want to hold on to? What do you not want to hold on to?
Well, when you decide you don't want to hold on to it anymore, there's other options besides giving it to your kids. Sell it on Facebook Marketplace, right? Or any type of other marketplace like that. Like, where, how would men have the opportunity to stand in an abandoned parking lot waiting for a free stapler from a stranger if it wasn't for Facebook Marketplace, right? I mean, things really serve an important purpose. Just find purposeful ways that other people might need your stuff. Give it away. There's a free kind of exchange in our neighborhood. It works great. I've donated multiple things to people, my neighbors, that I know they're going to be put to good use. Speaking of donating, donate. There's military-related charities. There's the housing assistance kind of shop on every, they lend out household goods to people that just PCS and their stuff isn't there, or maybe young soldiers and service members that need things. Thrift stores, a lot of things where you can help people out that are going to need these things probably more than you do currently. There's a few rules that we should, now it's a financial podcast. This is a perfect opportunity. Let's just drop some rules in here when it comes to donations, because it changed recently. So if you are intending to get a tax deduction, if you're getting rid of things, you're donating it to a proper organization, you have to itemize in order to get that deduction. Okay. I know you might be aware, if you take the standard, there's above the line deduction. That's just for cash donations. So if you have that rattle around your head, be aware it's just for cash donations. So when we're talking about donating stuff, you have to itemize in order to take the deduction. It's the fair market value. It's not what you paid for it, right? That'd be nice, but you only get the fair market value to write off your taxes as an itemized deduction. There is a floor. It's 0.5% of AGI, or modified AGI is the floor. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you won't get all of it. There's a slight floor that you'd have to get above before you get a benefit. Just get a receipt. It's over $250. You need a receipt, but just get a receipt anytime you donate anything for tracking, keep track of it. And then a couple other lesser known ones. If you're getting over 500 for the year, you're probably going to need, as far as itemized charitable donations, you're going to need Form 8283, Section A. I mean, your tax pro is probably going to know this. If you're claiming over 5,000, awesome. Same form, but Section B. Just a couple of tax things. Keep a record. Keep track of everything to make sure you get the tax benefit, and also make sure it's reported correctly to IRS. Jumping back on the other things of how to get rid of stuff. This one's tough. Digitize your photos. I haven't done that. That's hard. That's a hard one emotionally to do. There's services, but still, like, to me, like, the shoebox is worth keeping. That's always been my stance, but it's an option.
Yeah, it's definitely an option. I actually just spoke to my parents about this as well, that I think there's opportunities here to do both. So digitizing so that you, because physical photographs can be lost, can be destroyed, can degrade. So, having the digital asset as a backup. But I agree with you that there are some things that you just want to be passed down. And I think photo albums are one of those things.
Yeah, agreed. And then there's the old vertical filing cabinet that you can choose to donate your items to, and that is the trash or roll-off dumpster or whatever you want to do. This kind of brings me back to my point that I was trying to kind of relieve my parents of their anxiety, right? They were worried about their stuff, and I did have to be a little blunt with them. It might have hurt their feelings, but I just wanted them to feel better. I said, look, my sister and I will come through. We'll take what we need or what we want, whatever that is. I really don't care what she takes, and I'll take whatever I want. It probably won't be much. And that's kind of what I preface. Like, look, I have everything in my head that you've given me. They're wonderful parents. The relationships, beautiful relationships is great. So I have all of that already, and I'll always have that for the rest of my life. So yeah, I'll take a few things. We'll have an estate sale. I'll bring some charities in, like say, hey, after the estate sale, like take whatever you want. And then the rest of it, roll off dumpster. And this is the kind of the painful part of it. It's like, I don't really have a lot of time to go through every scrap. If it's not something I want or something I need or is useful to others, like, I'm gonna let the charities do that. If it's useful, take it. If not, guess what? Like, it's not preserving any memory more than I'm already preserving myself, than keeping all these other odds and ends and knickknacks that might be useful to others. But from a time perspective, it's probably going to get thrown out.
Have you had many garage sales? Like, I feel like garage sales are a thing still. Like, I still run around the neighborhood and I see Saturday mornings at 7:00 that there's signs out on the street pointing people to some garage sale somewhere. But in my experience, they are a lot of work.
Yeah, I am not interested in it. Our neighborhood has, I think it's like the first Saturday of the month or something like that. They do a garage sale, or like twice a year or something like that. So everybody's out. Well, at least people want to participate. So I don't know. It's just not really my thing. And yeah, I've never done it myself. But hey, I think people might find some joy in that. All right, final point to our 5 points of this, the PCS declutter, is cleaning habits go beyond the military. A career PCSing and cleaning doesn't stop when you retire. All right, we've alluded to this before. The PCSing is the really ripe opportunity. The military has given you time off to do this. They've given you some time off to PCS, some time off to like organize your life and get settled, declutter yourself. You have the time. It's a perfect opportunity. But when you retire, doesn't mean you have to stop doing this.
Megan and I actually just went through this. We have now, hard to believe, but we have now been retired for almost 3 years. And when we moved, so we've actually been in our house for over 3 years now. Believe it or not, and people call it the 3-year itch. That is a real thing. where you get to about 3 years and you're like, oh, it's time to move again. Like, we've got to get ready to go. We're looking for orders, time to make new friends. Well, when you retire, that's just not there, but the itch still is. So Megan and I, we took advantage of that and said, you know what? Let's PCS without PCSing. And we went through every room of the house and we decluttered everything. And we took a lot to Goodwill and we took a lot to the dump after asking the kids, do you want any of this stuff? And they said, I'll take this, that, and the other. And that's about it. And we have a very clean house at the moment.
Ideologically speaking, were you guys on the same page when you started that task? Or was this because,
Megan is more about it than I am.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh, yeah. She is like you. It's like a diesel engine. Like, once you turn her onto that idea, and she gets warmed up, then watch out. Like, you actually have to start strapping things down because she will start just getting rid of everything.
That's funny. So there's opportunity there. If you do inspire your spouse to help you in this endeavor, be careful if you don't and you start doing it by yourself. You might be in more trouble.
That's right.
The other thing is, too, as your kids get older, perfect opportunities. My daughter's about to fly the nest here next year. Now, hopefully, I'm sure we'll probably keep her room similar to what it is. She'll be visiting a lot. But that's a perfect opportunity, too, to okay, well, how much of this stuff is labeled directly to this kid or, maybe identified with this kid only, and we don't need it anymore. You can check with her, hey, do you want this old thing? Do you want this that you had when you were little? If not, then maybe it's time to find a better place for it. Speaking of, we did tease a little bit already. There's a lot of ways to get rid of stuff. Estate sales, donations to local charities, yard sale, the trash truck. I've become more okay with this idea. It's hard when you come from a thoughtful place growing up and maybe an average youth like upbringing that you and I had where, the things you had mattered and had value. It's still true. Like, I hate to throw away good stuff. So if I can't find a good place for it, it's hard to do. But if I don't use it and I've never used it or haven't used it in 10 years, guess what? It's probably time, if I can't give it to someone else, that it gets thrown in the trash.
Rob, you talked about this terrible feeling about going to the dump. And ultimately, I have that same feeling too. That terrible feeling of going to the dump has made Megan and I more intentional about the things that we actually buy in the first place, because we don't want to go to the dump. We don't want to take things to the trash. So we avoid buying things that we think are going to be useless or that we're going to have to take to the dump in 2 to 3 years.
That's a perfect way to wrap this up. That's awesome, because we've just kind of had a conversation about this stuff, and hopefully the conversation, as folks listen, creates a fertile ground for them to think about maybe how they're going to attack their next PCS, so long as they're not in the unit that I was in. They don't face it.
That's right.
But even if they don't, that perhaps that as we're in these dog days of the summer and the hot days, you want to stay inside. This gives you an activity to pursue, to declutter and clarify your life from not only your financial standpoint that we talk about, but from the physical standpoint in the environments in which we reside. So with that, it is time to move on along our op board, and that is time for the Throwaway Koa.
Throwaway Koa.
The Throwaway Koa is our weekly trivia challenge between Omen and myself for the prize of pride and a cheap trophy. As we mentioned before, we're not keeping score. We're keeping the score offline for the entire year, keeping it under lock and key. At the end of the year, we'll reveal it as part of our prize to a listener who gets as close as possible to how many Omen has gotten right, how many I've gotten wrong. Today, it is Omen's turn to lob an absurd question my way. No further ado, Omen, what do you got?
Oh, this is going to be a good one for you. Like, seriously impossible for you to answer.
B.
You're right. You got it.
Hey, why not? All right, what you got?
All right, here we go. There are more self-storage facilities in the U.S. than the combined locations of which 3 major retail chains? Is it A, Starbucks, McDonald's, and Walmart? B, Subway, Dollar General, and CVS? C, 7-Eleven, Walgreens, and Target? Or D, Home Depot, Lowe's, and Costco?
B. And I do mean B. I'm going in hard. I'm not even going to think about it and talk myself out of it, but I'm going B.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure I'm wrong, but I'm sure.
We could go with some gut feelings, go a different direction.
Nope, gut feeling B, sticking with it.
All right, Rob. It finally worked out for you. You're correct.
What was the only thing I thought about was those were when you said Subway, I'm like, well, those are going downhill. They're closing like left and right. What was the other two? That one, Dollar General?
Dollar General and CVS, which are also not. Dollar General is probably growing, but CVS is not.
Actually, if I thought about it more, I could have talked myself out of that one because Dollar General, now that I think about it, every time we go back to Missouri to visit my folks, they're everywhere. I see them all over the place, or even further south in here, I see them all over the place. So, wow, fantastic. Useless knowledge. I got it.
I know.
Nailed it.
So we always joke, especially here in the Northern Virginia area, that, one thing that we could definitely use more of is more storage facilities because they just keep popping up. Like we should definitely get more storage facilities. So people should definitely get more stuff.
It is a lucrative. I've explored it with my brother-in-law. We looked into it probably 12 years ago, trying to open up
like a franchise.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, business. I mean, I do your own due diligence. Please do not take my word for it. If you're considering this. But at the time, it was seen as a pretty lucrative ordeal, lucrative option for business ownership. We just never pulled the trigger on it. So with that behind us and my beautiful victory, finally I get a point after however many weeks it's been. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Fiscal Foxhole. Whether you're active duty, a vet, retiree, or just trying to figure out this money thing, you're in the right place. We're glad you're here. If it's been valuable to you, please pass it on. Share it with a loved one or a friend or anyone that you think could use the information to improve their financial life. 5-star review wouldn't hurt either. We'd love to hear from you at fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com. With all that behind us, Omen, we got some takeaways with our commander's intent. What do you got?
Commander's intent number 1, if you're moving IRA money, default to a transfer, not a rollover. It skips the 60-day deadline, the once-a-year limit, and the risk of a costly mistake since the money never touches your hand. Commander's intent number 2, every PCS forces you to look at everything you own. Use it. Make that a habit every 2 to 3 years, moving or not. And Commander's intent number 3, your kids don't want grandma's china. They want you to stop making them lie about it.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions you'd like answered on the show, please send us a note to fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com. If you heard something today that you'd like to discuss further, or you just want to dig deeper into your own financial game plan, both Rob and Omen are accepting new clients and always happy to chat. You'll find the links to their websites or to book appointments in the show notes. Rob Moore and Omen Quelvog are both registered investment advisor representatives. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While they are both advisors, they are not your advisors. Therefore, nothing you hear on Fiscal Foxhole should be taken as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. For guidance tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified professional who understands your individual circumstances.
Omen, as we move into off duty here, if I seem off a little bit, I'm currently fasting, all right? Because we just talked about cleaning house. I am currently cleaning my house, my basement, if you were. I've got a procedure happening tomorrow, so I'm not allowed to eat anything, and I get to do some decluttering of my own tonight. Or maybe perhaps you thought that my performance in the foxhole was solid, in which case it's going to be my only solid performance of the day. Let me just put it that way. I'm of the age now
Yes.
where I've been
the
fortunate,
required age.
the required age that I've done screening. I got to the magic age where I had to start getting the screening, and it just so happened the military started offering the take home, like the screening stool, screening yourself.
Yeah.
So I got to do that. Well, the last one came up, I don't know, somewhat abnormal, I guess. And it's still going to be fine, I'm sure. But now I have to go in and get the full scope. So, we talk about, taking a good look at your assets. I'm going to have that done tomorrow morning. And the doctors assured me that I'm in good hands, but I'm not sure I'm really happy with where his hands are headed here in about 12 hours.
Terrible.
Other things I've jotted out here. Just running with the dad joke here. I'm getting audited. It's an internal audit. Put it that way. Okay. And speaking of assets, it's time to to liquidate. When it comes time to liquidate your assets, I'm in the liquidating phase right now, and it will
decumulation.
Yes,
So,
I'm decumulating, liquidating my assets throughout the day. But there is a plan. We talk about opward. We're in an opward stroke. There's an evacuation plan in place for tonight that will take place. I couldn't resist.
Buzzall.
I had to. I mean, if you don't have a sense of humor about this stuff, I don't know what to tell you. You have to. But yeah, all jokes aside, I'm about a handful of hours into the fasting, which I'm a big baby when it comes to not eating. I don't know how you handle it, but I'm
terrible.
Yeah,
I'll get angry, get cranky. Yeah.
The good news is, I guess, have you by the way, sorry, have you done this before? Have you gone through that process?
Nope. Haven't had the pleasure yet.
Okay. Well, apparently, like everyone says, the actual procedure's not bad at all. It's all the prep that you have to do. So I have to do the prep tonight. But the good news is, I thought I just couldn't have anything, maybe just water. Well, the good news is, like, you have chicken broth, so I had that for lunch. Not bad. Like, I was actually kind of surprised how satisfying it was. Made my Jello for dinner. I'm having that for dinner.
Nice.
You can have Jello, and water. And then,
so is this going to be a thing now? This is going to be your new fad diet?
I will tell you what. I made a mug of broth just to kind of tide me over and give me some calories to think through this episode as we were doing it. Kind of shocked how satisfying it was. I don't know. Maybe it's because of how hungry I was, but I was a little surprised. I'm like, man, this might be able to tide me over for like a snack in the afternoon at some point, especially in the wintertime. It might be satisfying, but kind of interesting. And thank God I have coffee. My goodness, I'd be a total monster if I couldn't eat and couldn't have coffee.
Yeah. Should we also mention that we renamed off duty to off duty?
Off
Duty. We're a bunch of kids.
Yeah, we are. I know in the takeaway, we say you found the right place. If you can't laugh at this, you found the wrong place. I don't know what to tell you. We're a couple of children. This is the part of the rarely intelligent of never artificial, rarely intelligent. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, there's definitely other more professional podcasts than this one.